This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Dan Moriarty. With all the Bills' momentum, couldn't the NFL have at least thrown them a primetime bone?
And I'm John DiTullio. I'll tell you why that Thanksgiving Day turkey is going to taste a little bit better this year.
And I'm Mike Catalana. Russell Wilson, you play football, not baseball.
And I'm Bill Pucko. Bryan Price immortalizing 77. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, along with...
Stop. I may just pull a rather. I just may leave the set. I could just leave the set right now. It's great to be back.
John DiTullio, Fox
I missed you
Sports
all.
1280.
Dearly.
It's been a long time. Mike Catalana co-anchoring.
It's nice to see him in person. You know, I hear him on the radio a lot, but it's nice to see him in person.
It is.
Is this going to be the theme of the show today?
It was the theme when you weren't here, so.
All right.
And Dan Moriarty, for whom John DiTullio plays sidekick for on Fox Sports 1280.
I was
Danny,
very
thanks for joining
tempted to
us.
go and sit in
Your
that chair.
seat.
Yeah, I've been keeping that warm for
Would
you.
you guys rehearse this? How long have you been writing this?
It's pretty
script?
good, isn't it? Well, look, the first it got a lot of attention because of the way he delivered the message. But Bryan Price and his now famous 77 F-bomb rant, what do you make of it?
Well, I think he delivered it to the wrong people. If he's upset about information getting out and being published, how about you talk to management and the people that may have leaked the information to the press? The press is just doing their jobs. Who is it, Trent Rosecrans? I mean, that guy did his job, and then the manager's berating him, telling him what his job is supposed to be. Why? Because he did his job so well and got the information out there correctly that the other team got a chance to know what was going on.
The meat of the whole thing, I thought, was when he came back the next day and he apologized for the wording, but he said, I still believe in what, I meant what I said in terms of these guys protecting the ball club. We all know stuff. We all know stuff that we haven't reported about people, things, and teams, even in the Rochester area. Where's that line? I mean, where do you decide what to report and what not to say?
I think honestly, I think the first thing you should think is it something that people need to know? Because there are certain things we all know that maybe people would like to know. And it's a little less important to the sport, to the team, or anything, things that all of us may have heard. But if it's something that's very impactful, like if it's, a guy has an issue, somebody's on the Bills saying has an issue away from football, but it has no impact on the team, a marital thing or something, then I don't think, even if I know about it, has. But if it's something that he's missing practice, he's doing that, then I think that's the case. Then I think maybe it needs to be reported.
This was such a non-story. He needs to grow up. It's 2015. The guy's doing his job. Well, the one guy wasn't notified he's going to be sent down. And people want to know, the fans want to know why their best player, one of their best players is not in uniform, an all-star catcher. Grow up. Welcome to 2015. This is big boy baseball. These guys are covering your team, 162 games. They're there to report. They're not there to be your buddy.
Yeah.
They're not there to be a shill for your organization. They're there to do their jobs, and they were doing their job.
But you're the Buffalo Bills beat reporter for Fox. You've got a piece of information that would be big news if you reported it, but where are you
Is
gonna...
it newsworthy, though? This was newsworthy.
If it would be big news if you said something. What if you knew something about somebody that would get on the front page? Do you feel obliged to let it go?
Well, like John said, though, it's impacting whether or not an all-star catcher's in the lineup of a game. So I think that is something the fans have the right to know about. And so for the manager to react the way that he did, and he got a couple of things wrong. First of all, telling the guy how to do his job, that makes no sense to me because the guy was doing his job. But then to say, well, what does this do to help the Reds? How is this helping the Reds? What are you talking about? His job is not to help the Reds.
Yeah.
That's not his job.
I think they've been a little brainwashed, some of the coaches, managers, people on teams, because I do think they start to believe, and we've seen it in college sports. I think they actually believe that the role of the media is to help the team. Now, there are times when, in general, people in the media can be, as a group, and sometimes a little pack mentality, overly negative. I think we've all seen that at times. But your job is not to support the team has to help the Reds. That's not the job. Your job's not to help.
But again, you know something that would be interesting to your audience, and then you decide not to report it.
Yeah, again, I think, well, first of all, is it personal? Who's it impacting? And do people need or should they know about it? Because other things, and there's been local things that we've all known about, but it really had no impact on the games themselves.
But what if you let him go?
That one would be tricky, but if it impacts the team, I think you got to report it.
All right, it's draft week in the NFL. We'll take a look at what the Bills might do next. Hello and welcome back into the Rochester Press Box. It's NFL Draft Week. Ordinarily, this is a pretty exciting time, but there's not a lot at stake.
Oh, no,
for
no.
Buffalo
Doug
this
Whaley
year,
said
don't you
it's
think?
just as exciting, even if they don't have a first-round pick. Yeah, look, I guess I know what he's saying. He said almost anybody can pick in the top 10. Well, we've seen around the NFL that doesn't always happen. We'd all be able to pick a name. Doesn't mean you pick the right guy. I do think they have done something in this offseason by addressing other things that has left them in a position to say they could take the, quote, best player. It's the second round. That's what you're going to get, and you're not getting a quarterback. Their number one need, to me, is still a quarterback, but they're not getting that guy. Or they could take somebody, but they're not getting everybody knows is potentially the guy. So, I still think in this draft, I want to see offensive line and another offensive lineman. I want to see at least two. I'm not satisfied with that at all. I think coming into this offseason, O-line and quarterback were their biggest needs. And I think as we sit here getting ready for May, their two biggest needs are quarterback and offensive line.
The big day for the Bills is Friday, the second day. I'm treating that as the first round, rounds 2 and 3. The way I look at it, they drafted LaShawn McCoy, they drafted Charles Clay, they drafted Percy Harvin, and they drafted or re-signed Jerry Hughes. That, to me, you throw all of them together, that's a pretty good first-round pick, the way I'm spinning it. But the big day for the Bills will come on Friday, as Mike just mentioned. Quarterback could be waiting for him and an offensive lineman. Rounds 2 and 3. If you're a Bills fan, that's the day that you sit around, you get manwich, and you get all excited because that can be your impact player. I don't think they're going to trade back into the first round. Yeah, I'm saying Friday will be the big day for the Bills.
Well, how far do you reach for the quarterback?
Well, that's going to be fascinating to watch because they're in such win-now mode right now. I'm interested to see, based on what they do with as you mentioned, the first couple of picks that they have there, we'll know what they think of their offensive linemen that they currently have because Whaley kind of threw it out there in the draft luncheon that, hey, we kind of feel like we have some talent there. Maybe they weren't coached up the way that we wanted them to be coached up. So maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable with their offensive linemen they currently have than the rest of us do. But we're going to find out in the draft because if they go offensive lineman first, then that was a bit of a smokescreen.
And what Dan's talking about, I hope that doesn't become kind of a theme because last year there was that underlying Marone's not happy with the guys Whaley picked, or at least certainly Quanjo. And now this year maybe it's, we're going to prove that he was the right guy, and so we're going to give guys more opportunities. I don't think they're that petty. I think Doug might have been at times a little petty that way, at Marone trying to play his guys, but I still think they need offensive line help. And that also, by the way, can come in the form of a veteran player because another team could be releasing a pretty good player at offensive line because they draft somebody.
I thought we heard exactly what you're talking about in their early defense of E.J. Manuel in the process.
Yeah.
Like, we want to prove that we were right.
You do hear a little bit of that, but, man, the rest of the time, if you talk to Greg Roman, you talk to Rex Ryan, he's Jeff Toole. No, really. Right? Yeah. It's almost like they just say, we're equal footing.
They're calling it a make-or-break kind of year, so you're telling me he has to have a good camp? A make-or-break year, that's telling me I'm assuming he's starting. If I hear he better have a great OTA and a great camp at Fisher.
And then
or he's going to get clipped.
And they may be just lowering that bar, letting him go out and prove it that everybody goes, wow, EJ looks pretty good.
Sure.
I'm not 100% sure EJ Manuel is on the roster when the season starts.
Oh, my God.
Well, you think about it. Tyrod Taylor's been a backup in the league. Yeah. And if they draft, say they went with Bryce Petty or somebody like that in the draft, and you have Castle.
If they draft Petty or Grayson, then I think Manuel gets clipped.
Starting quarterbacks for the start of the next season for the Buffalo Bills. Who is it?
I got Matt Castle week 1. I got a bet with Tools.
I'm going to go with him on Castle, too. EJ has a chance to earn it, but I'm going to go Castle.
If the Bills draft a quarterback on Friday or in the second round, then I believe it'll be Castle. If they don't, I'm sticking with Manuel. Then Manuel starts.
It'll be interesting. You're on an island.
I can't believe it.
You worried about our bet then?
Bank. It'll be Manuel over Castle. If it's Castle, then just throw your hands up into the air.
If it's Castle, that means EJ didn't earn the spot. I mean, he is. I think
The tie goes to EJ.
Get ready for Groundhog's Day with Kyle Orton, everybody.
I disagree with that.
That'll be fun.
I think a tie might go to Castle. I mean, because to me, a tie would be because they were pretty average and they would go.
You got all these weapons and you're throwing out, whatever. I'm tired of this scenario.
Like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, John, the NFL schedule.
I love it. I mean, I did watch the other night. I was watching the Yankees and the Cavaliers at the same time. I mean, they've made it an event. Did I stick around for 3 hours? No, but because by 8 o'clock, I already knew the Bills' schedule. So I was just kind of getting reaction. In terms of the Bills' schedule, yeah, they start off with a lot of home games. I hate 5 road games in 6 weeks. And I do like the fact that they're starting at home twice with 2 games and ending at home with 2 games. I think that could be beneficial for them.
5 in 6 weeks is awfully tough.
It is, but there is almost going to be that kind of stretch everywhere. And I'm a big believer, and I've said it to you guys before, it's not always who you play. Sometimes it's when you play them. You catch a team at the right time. There should be pluses and minuses. What I don't get too worked up over is looking at the schedule and saying, oh, well, this team was bad last year, this team was good. Pick a few teams like that. You know, New England's going to be good. Seattle's going to be good. A few teams. Most of the other ones, you just throw it up in the air and see who's going to be good this year.
The primetime games are back to back. Is that a dynamic you like?
Well, it actually works out in Buffalo's favor because the Thursday nighter leads into a Monday night game against the Patriots. So the Patriots in week 2 get the advantage over the Bills with the 10 days to prepare for Buffalo, and then it kind of reverses itself going into the later part of week 9 and week 10 for those 2 games. So Buffalo then gets the couple of extra days to prepare for New England. So in that case, it kind of works out, whereas the last couple of seasons, it seems like Buffalo was always getting New England when they had the extra rest coming in.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, when you look at what the schedule is, the games where there's like a player from a former team or Rex against the Jets, and yeah, they're going to play twice a year and all, but I do like the fact when those games are later in the season, when it becomes more about the 2 teams. For example, McCoy going to Philly, it's like week 14 or 13 or 14 in the year. Sure, but at that point, that game will likely be much more about those 2 teams than it is about a guy going back there to play. That'll be the minor story, not the major.
Rex's defense gets Luck and Brady right out of the gate. You got to love it.
Danny,
2 teams that started slow last year,
yes.
too.
Like it or not, Danny, Jack Eichel coming to Buffalo.
Hey, I mean, this is what you tank for. You knew that you're only going to have, a 20% chance to get the number 1 pick if you were the worst team in the league. But the fallback plan was you weren't going any further than number 2. And in this year, that ends up working out. Yeah, would they have loved to get Connor McDavid? We saw Tim Murray was a little salty afterward.
Which he shouldn't have been. I thought it made him look really
he mentioned it was more because he had to go to this whole event and everything and be there and be present for it. And maybe you shouldn't talk like 2 seconds after the whole thing happens, let your emotions calm down. Because Connor McDavid is that type of player. So you lost out on the chance to get a Connor McDavid. But, hey, if Jack Eichel's the fallback, you could do a lot worse than that.
Any chance he doesn't come out of BU?
Well, even if he doesn't, he's still coming to Buffalo. They're going to hold his rights. He's coming out. They signed his buddy that was on the team. He's coming out. he'll be a Sabre next year. And the tanking worked to finish 30th. Because picture being in the same spot, if they ended up 29th, they would have dropped to 20.
It was an 80% chance they were going to get him as the thing was set up. Look, just quickly, and only you, like it or not, Tim Tebow in Philly.
I don't mind it, but in general, I don't like it. He's not going to make the team. He won't make the team. He'll come in. Chip will look at a few things. Who knows? Who knows what Chip's going to do on the draft? I would say the odds are not great that he's on the roster.
Why'd he do it?
Why did Chip do it?
Does he really think there's a role for him?
Maybe he'll look at it and see if there is. Minimum contract. Honestly, that guy's going to need to be versatile because people always throw these things out there. Chip never dresses 3 quarterbacks. So if he's not versatile, he's going to have to be the backup quarterback, and I don't see him being that. I would say it's going to be the same kind of thing happened with the Patriots. He's going to come in, they're going to look at him for a while, and then they're going to cut him.
Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, Unfinished Business. John.
Thanksgiving 2015 is going to be a monster holiday at my house. I get up in the morning, I watch the Macy's Day Parade with my daughter. Then I'm going to watch Mike's Philadelphia Eagles going to Detroit. Then I get Carolina and Dallas. Then, as I'm at my brother-in-law's on my 9th piece of pie, I get the Packers and Bears. This is a special night for not only Packer fans, but for Favre fanatics like myself. There is now closure on the Brett Favre era. 16 incredible years. He will have his name and number enshrined at Lambeau Field. Let's face it, the renaissance for the Packers, the rebirth of Green Bay started when Brett Favre came to Green Bay. And who better to do it against a team that he carved up for years in the Chicago Bears. 22-10 against Chicago. He went from 1993 until 05, never lost a game at Soldier Field. Prior to that, the 16 seasons before Favre got to Green Bay, the Packers were 9-23 versus Chicago. At about 8:30 Thanksgiving night, as I'm chowing and I'm sipping on wine and I'm eating lasagna, there will be tears coming down my face as Favre takes his proper place with Lombardi, Lambeau, Nitsky, Reggie White, and now Brett Favre.
You know what I saw? The USA Today headline from the schedule makers was NFL spoils Thanksgiving. That was the headline. The games that they scheduled for Thanksgiving, that the NFL spoiled Thanksgiving.
I can't wait. I'm so emotional. I can't wait. Mike, I need you against Detroit to start the day. I need you against Detroit.
That Eagles back-to-back years on Thanksgiving
I like it.
Day.
Well, the theme has been really the NFL schedule coming out this week, and Buffalo Bills fans everywhere were anxiously awaiting to see the schedule coming out to see just how many primetime games they would have, and if any, would be in Orchard Park. Now, Johnny, you're back on the show, so I got to take a little bit of a shot here. Johnny thought that Buffalo could maybe get 4 games.
I said 4.
4? Yeah, he said 4 games. They ended up with 2, neither of which is in Orchard Park, New York. Now, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, that's incredibly disappointing because it's been, nearly a decade since they've had a chance to host a primetime game in Buffalo. If the NFL could have just thrown a bone in terms of a Thursday night game, I'm sure Bills fans would have absolutely loved that. You've got Rex Ryan now in town, 9-7, first season where they were over 500 in 10 years. And really, does that even matter that much? If you look at last year's primetime schedule, look at this year's NFL draft, the top 10 draft order. 9 of the top 10 teams in the top 10 of the NFL draft this season, so the worst 10 teams in the league, 9 of those teams got a home primetime game last season. Not all of them were expected to be good going into the year. Buffalo, the expectations are actually fairly high. So what is the NFL saying right now? Is it because they're worried about the fan behavior that they've had in Orchard Park in the past? Is it because they think that Buffalo needs a new stadium? Or is Buffalo still that irrelevant in terms of the NFL landscape at this point? Either way, 2 primetime games, the Jets, the Patriots, neither which is in Buffalo, New York.
Let's probably still have an inflated view, being from Western New York, of the importance of this franchise as far as the National League
Couldn't
across the
throw
country.
the Pagulas a bone for spending $1.4 bill. Can't give him a home game.
One, I don't think the Bills really want home games prime time. I don't think they'll say it publicly. I don't think they like it. I don't think they like the way it has worked out in the past.
We know Ralph didn't like them.
And two, outside of Western New York, like I use like my family in New Jersey, the Bills.
Yeah, but Jacksonville got one last year. Tennessee got one last year. The only team that didn't in the top 10 was Tampa Bay.
The Bills got 2 primetime games. If you're sitting at home around the country, you don't care if it's
Well,
in
consider-
Buffalo.
Yeah, but Buffalo does.
Right, but
Bills
that's what I'm
fans
saying.
do.
But the league
Those
does-
teams got home primetime games.
What
I'm saying
upsets
is,
me is-
I don't think the home team
Well-
cares. I don't think the Bills really want those.
They
home
really
Monday
only
night
got
games.
one because the league mandates everyone plays
Yeah.
on Thursday night. So really, the Bills got one primetime game.
Their
Makes
quarterbacks.
a difference in the stadium.
Their quarterback is Matt Castle or E.J. Manuel. That's what it is. Get him a quarterback and it would change. Speaking of quarterbacks, Russell Wilson was talking again this week. Now, look, he is a great athlete. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. He won one. I don't know if you guys know, but he threw the interception to lose the Super Bowl this year. But you don't hear it much because he's a Teflon guy. Look, he does nothing wrong. He seems, by all accounts, to be a great guy. He does a lot of great things. He's talking about baseball. We know you're using baseball. He talks about playing for the Texas Rangers like he could just walk on the field today and play Major League Baseball. He's using it for some semblance of leverage against the Seahawks. I listen to him. I hear him talk. I hear him say, hey, it's my favorite sport growing up. Michael Jordan said it. It's the sport my father wanted me to play more than any. Michael Jordan said it. Look, you're a great player, and you've done great things for your franchise. You are not Michael Jordan. You haven't accomplished what he did in basketball before he went to play baseball. You're not going to play baseball in the major leagues. You're a great quarterback. It'll work out with the Seahawks. Stop talking about it like it's going to happen now. It's negotiating. It's part of the deal. Worry about getting the Seahawks back to the Super Bowl and hand the ball to Lynch next time.
And the guys that get out of baseball don't watch it. I have a tough time believing that this is really their number one favorite thing. Derek Jeter says he doesn't watch the game anymore.
Oh, he's 20-some years. He's got other stuff going on. You
I
ever
guess
see who he's
he's not-
dating?
yeah, I
Have you
guess-
seen who he's dating?
He really kind of does.
I wouldn't be watching baseball either.
That is our program. Johnny, thanks very much for coming back.
You got it, Billy.
Mike?
Thanks.
Danny, good to have you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the original Rochester Press Box.